Now we have this tornado warning that has gone into effect for our areas, especially Crawford County. You can see this thunderstorm with its ferocious lightning moving in. Let's zoom in tightly here to this area. And this is where we are watching. Let me get things queued up. Like I said, this is just coming in to us here now as we go on the air here for the Power of Two. A tornado warning has been issued for Crawford, Franklin, and Gasconade counties. So this is far southern Gasconade County, far southwestern Franklin County, and the northern half, kind of north of Highway 8 of Crawford County. So this is going to include the Cuba area up towards Sullivan, south of Owensville, and south of Highway 50 in Franklin County, along with this potential for some spin in this storm. We also, with this storm, have a history of producing some large diameter hail, maybe up to tennis ball size hail with this storm, and also some torrential rain. And again, you saw that lightning as we brought this on. So again, this is just coming in here as we go on the air. Let me take a look at some stuff here as we kind of assess this here. This storm, I was watching it for that hail as it moved in, but again, now seeing starting to pick up some new signs with this storm here as it moves in across the area. So again, we're talking about right on that corner there of Gasconade and Crawford counties here. This is where we're looking. Let me bring on some other information here as we take a look at this. There we go. There's where we're watching here. Yeah, right to the west of Highway 19. And again, we're looking north of the I-44 corridor right now, especially now moving into that northwest corner of Crawford County here. Again, this is just coming into us here, so I'm just getting the latest information. Sirens are now sounding in Sullivan. If you're in that area, again, if you're in northern Crawford County, you're going to hear those going off now. We're going to watch this cross far northern Crawford County. This should pass north of Cuba proper, but it's about to go across Highway 19 in that area. So yes, definitely heads up for the folks in the Sullivan area. This storm is moving right in your direction here now as it moves off to the kind of east-southeast here this morning. We've been watching these storms make a little bit of a turn to the east and the southeast as they drop in. So again, coming in right here at the top of the hour, a tornado warning has been issued for northern Crawford County, southeastern Franklin County, and southwestern Franklin County and southeastern Gasconade County until 11:45. This storm capable of producing a tornado, some radar indication of that spin located near Cuba, moving east at 40 miles per hour. Again, it should pass just north of Cuba proper, really moving right along the Gasconade, Crawford, and eventually the Franklin County line. Also, this storm has a history of producing some large hail with this storm. I want to get out to the Woods Basement System storm runner here briefly as we get some more information on this storm. Extreme weather specialist meteorologist Chris Higgins is out in this storm system. He's out ahead of these storms heading south down in Arnold. And Chris, I know you're out there with some of the folks from SLU who are doing some research today, but right as expected, these storms moving in here. Tell us what you're thinking, what their team is thinking as we start to see the strongest of these storms, kind of the first wave roll in.
Yeah, Angela, it's important for folks in Metro St. Louis, and I mean St. Louis City, St. Louis County, to know that this core, this intense supercell capable of a tornado, is likely to pass well south of St. Louis City, St. Louis County. We're really focusing on the warm front as it tries to lift northbound. You can see the instability here with these puffy mammatus clouds over our heads. We're in Arnold right now. That's a sign of instability way up high in the atmosphere. The problem here is we're well north of the warm front. There's actually a cushion, a pillow of slightly cooler, drier air underneath the clouds. So as the storms are running up, trying to push this way, they're being forced down towards the fuel source, and that fuel source fuel source is way down to the south. In fact, Brian, as we come down, you can see the dark towering cumulus clouds on the horizon there. That's actually the warm front trying to build northbound. Now, the folks here at St. Louis University who are with us, this is our group of grad students and students who we were with during the eclipse. They're using some of the same equipment here. Ben's got the drone, and he's got this sensor on it at the bottom. That's going to measure temperature and humidity. Does it also measure wind, Ben? We're going to measure wind with that? Awesome. Wind through GPS and pressure. So they're going to launch this right now. The idea is they're going to measure the all-important wind, temperature, pressure in the lowest couple of, go ahead and launch it when you're ready, the lowest couple of thousand meters in the atmosphere because it's super important as to the eventual track of where that potential tornado may go. So they're going to be going down ahead of us here shortly. We're going to be following as well, working our way south towards that warm front to get a read on the lowest couple of 100 meters of the atmosphere so we can tell exactly what the atmosphere is doing, and it'll give us a better read on where these storms, and this storm in particular, is going to track. But certainly all eyes are over southeastern Missouri. Looks like from Cuba over to Farmington and eventually over towards Perryville and maybe a little bit further north, depending on how far north that warm front goes. That's the zone to watch. So we're going to be heading south and packing up here shortly to get down there. These guys are going to be taking their research equipment with them as well. Reporting live with the Woods Basement System Storm Runner. Angela, back to you with an update on that tornado warning.
Yeah, this is going to be some important research and important things to track here today. But let's get back to this storm that we are now tracking across northern Crawford County, especially. A tornado warning has now come out for this storm that is tracking there across the far northern part of Crawford County and the extreme southern part of Gasconade County right now. This will be in effect until 11:45. Folks in southwestern parts of Franklin County, heads up as well. So I really want a heads up for the folks in Bourbon and in Sullivan, really right along that I-44 corridor, maybe just to the north of the Cuba area. This storm moving in your direction. The heart of this is south of Owensville. It's south of Gerald. That if you're south of that Highway 50 corridor into Franklin County, heads up as well with this moving in. Again, until 11:45, a tornado warning has been issued. Because of this storm. Aside from the threat of a tornado, we do not have one confirmed, but the kind of radar indicating that possibility is there. We also have a history with this storm of producing some large hail. And these storms, again, making a bit of an east to southeasterly push. So we'll watch, heads up folks in Washington County as well, north of, again, Highway 8. So Potosi area and points north. Again, this is an area where these storms are kind of moving. I want to take you back here. Again, you see that tornado warning. I want to bring on the hail, the history of the hail threat with this storm as well. The darker the color there, that larger that threat. And the warning here has 2.5 inches. So we're talking potentially tennis ball, maybe larger size hail with this tornado warned storm as it rolls in. Let me back us up here and bring back on the circulation and take a look at where things are. And this is the area. So south, right over the Highway 19 corridor right now. This is where this storm is crossing Highway 19 north of Cuba, Oak Hill area. You need to be in a safe place right now. And again, Bourbon, Sullivan, you all need to take shelter right now as well. I know those sirens are sounding in northern Crawford County as this storm rolls through. We all know that near Bourbon, we had a small tornado touchdown just the other early morning. So that community just recently hit hard, and we're going to watch that again right now. Getting a report in that there may be a funnel cloud spotted near Indian Hills. So we'll watch that. We do need, I'm getting some more updates here as we go through. Yeah, I'm want to really pay attention for the Oak Hill area right now. This is an area where that rotation is really showing up here on the radar. So right on that Gasconade and Crawford County line right now. This is the area of circulation. I'm going to highlight it here for you. So Oak Hill area, anyone along Highway 19 here in northern Crawford County needs to be in your safe space. And then if you are to the due east of this area, I-44 corridor, Bourbon up to Sullivan. Let's get ready. Get in your safe space now. These storms have been moving very, very quickly. I'll broaden out the view here. Again, just to bring us into maybe that Washington County area. If you are west of Rich Woods as well, let's get ready in that area, anywhere south of St. Clair. But again, this is the area we are most concerned about right here, right over Highway 19 between Oak Hill and Cuba at this area right now. Again, some signs here of circulation. Meteorologist Haley Fitzpatrick is here with me right now as well. She's keeping an eye on things with me. You have, are you getting any new reports in?
Yeah, absolutely. I do have Max 3 pulled up, if we could pull it up. If not, I do have a storm track for the latest indicated rotation. This is a very tight couplet. We have a big kind of classic supercell right over this area, and not even a little over 24 hours ago, this was the exact area that was hit actually in Sullivan by a weak EF1 tornado early yesterday morning. So this just kind of continues to be a very dangerous situation heading into the afternoon, moving into Mound School at 11:15 a.m. Bourbon at 11:18, moving east and slightly southeast around 40 miles per hour. It'll eventually cross over into Pea Ridge at about 11:35, so that's within the next 20-25 minutes or so. And then Halsey School at potentially 11:40. That's with outside the tornado polygon. So Angela, I continue to watch this very tight rotation, and it looks like it's moving. It's likely going to cross over I-44 in between Cuba and also it looks like Oak Grove Village. So if you happen to be driving westbound or eastbound on 44 in between Oak Grove Village and Cuba, definitely make sure to pull off the highway because it's radar indicated. We have nothing confirmed, and I continue to monitor also our correlation coefficient, which would be our debris tracker, and I'm not seeing anything, but a classic supercell indeed. This is almost textbook-like for people who study the weather. So it's, people in this warned polygon from Crawford to Franklin County definitely need to take shelter immediately because this is a very tight rotation that could intensely drop a tornado at any moment, Angela.
Absolutely. Haley, thank you so much. Yeah, getting some reports in that maybe some power flashes are going on there in northern Crawford County right now. Again, that strong rotation is moving right across northern Crawford County. If we need to, if you are in Bourbon right now, even in the Leesburg area, right along I-44 there through northern Crawford County, then into the Sullivan area, again, both areas that were hit by tornadoes, like Haley was saying, a little more than 24 hours ago at this point in time, you need to be seeking shelter right now. Classic rotation here within this storm. And again, watching things here very closely. Yeah, lots of hail with this storm system as well. Let me switch over our modes here if I can and bring us an update on that. We've had reports of potentially up to baseball size hail with this storm as it has moved in. Let's take a look at that here. Yeah, look at this. So that, oh wow, that dark pink area there is the area where we are potentially seeing some of the largest hail with this storm. And you can see that I-44 corridor. So kind of really between Highway 50, which is right in through here. This is Highway 50 through the Gerald area and into the Owensville area, from Franklin into Crawford County, and then off to the south, I-44 here. The storm is moving, again, right along that Crawford and Gasconade County line, and then eventually here, it's starting to move into that southwest corner of Franklin County as well. Let's get back here, if I can, to the radar, show you the movement here of this storm as it works its way to the east here at this hour.
That's a confirmed tornado.
We have a confirmed now?
Confirmed tornado from Troop C Park Ranger at Merrimack State Park, which is the exact area not even, or a little over 24 hours ago where they also saw that tornado yesterday morning.
So there we go. We now have a confirmed tornado on the ground.
It's directly over Merrimack State Park.
All right, so again, if you are in northern Crawford County, southeastern now Gasconade County, moving east of Highway 19, and if you are anywhere south of let's say highway, let's be safe here, folks, south of Highway 50 in Franklin County and north of Highway 8 in Crawford County. You need to be in your safe place right now, especially if you are in between Cuba and Sullivan. So the Bourbon area right now, that busy corridor through northern Crawford County, through in this area needs to seek shelter now. And I want everyone also in northern Washington County to have a heads up for this. Also, let's put a heads up for folks in the St. Clair area. This storm moving in your direction. Gerald, you're on the northern edge of this. Again, this is kind of the leading edge of this is under a severe thunderstorm warning for this large hail and the threat of a potential tornado. But again, we are currently watching this very clear indication of rotation here, moving towards I-44 at this point in time, right over highway. It's starting to shift a little bit. I need to adjust my picture here for you just a little bit. Again, meteorologist Haley Fitzpatrick and I are watching this here in the studio for you. And we have both our extreme weather specialist, meteorologist Chris Higgins, out heading into these storms to track them for us, and meteorologist John Fuller with us here as well. Okay, radar is, again, indicating very good indications here. Just checking in on some updates here that, again, we've had funnel clouds spotted with this storm in northern Crawford County, again, right on the Gasconade County line. As this continues to work its way off to the east, we have that tornado warning in effect until 11:45 this morning for this area. Again, northern Crawford County, you're sort of the strongest threat, but right along the Gasconade and Franklin County line as well. This storm could also be producing up to baseball-size hail as it moves east very, very quickly here this morning, east at 40 miles per hour. Definitely going to have some car damage, some tree damage, some power outages with this storm as it rolls in. Again, so this storm is now moving east of Highway 19. Tornado warned storm here, very strong indication on the radar of rotation with this storm. Let's track something here. If I can get it to pull up, let's see.
And this is no longer for Gasconade County, it's now for Crawford and for Franklin as it kind of teeters along that county line. Again, it's going to move directly over I-44 in between Sullivan and Cuba. So folks in Sullivan definitely need to make sure to take that tornado shelter, that tornado safe place. And also Angela mentioned in Bourbon too, a park ranger over Merrimack State Park, they did report a confirmed tornado, but the Weather Service is actually holding off on issuing a confirmation until they get some more reports.
Yeah.
But we're going to go ahead and actually.
We have a live picture coming on now of I-44. Now, this is in St. Clair, so this is a little north of where that storm is right now. And you can see the dark sky there. And again, I do want folks in south of St. Clair to have a heads up that this storm is kind of going to move due south there of the St. Clair area here over the next 30 minutes or so as it works its way off to the east. Again, right now, I want the folks in Bourbon and Sullivan especially to be taking shelter. If you are in Cuba proper, this is moving just north of you. It's moving just north of the Leesburg area right now as well. Again, this tornado warning coming out right as we got onto the news here at 11 a.m. As this storm really kind of started to wrap itself up, almost running into another little boundary, which probably set it to kind of rotate here a little bit. So again, I want to bring this picture on as well. The area in the dark pink, certainly an area where we could be having tennis ball size hail, just threatening hail with this storm. Broaden out the view there so you can get a little better picture of where we're talking about. Cuba is here on the southern edge of the storm. We've got Highway 50 on the northern edge of this storm, but the focus is right along the county lines here. Gasconade County, you're being dropped from this warning, but southern Franklin County, northern Crawford County, heads up that that storm is still moving through your area. Just checking on some updates here. Yeah, okay, so we're still seeing that. Let me get you back to the radar here so you can get a good look at what that looks like. This is, let me give you the bigger view here momentarily. You can see we have the tornado and severe thunderstorm warnings here. Franklin down into Crawford County. Another batch of strong storms. No warnings on that back just west of Gasconade County. And then we have this line of non-severe storms, although down towards the south of the, up towards the Cairo area, moving up towards Carbondale and Marion. We do have a warning that's just outside of the St. Louis region. But we have another line of storms from Park Hills down to about Perryville right now. But again, our focus is on this area here in Sullivan. Let me bring up something here. Let me bring up our Cuba camera here for you, our web camera in Cuba, Missouri. Now, this is right along I-44. So let's jump away from the radar just momentarily to show you what the skies look like in Cuba, if it will load for me here, hopefully. Maybe not, maybe knocked out with the storm. Yep. Okay, yeah, we don't have that camera, unfortunately. Let me take you, let me see if our Sullivan camera will load. It's a streaming camera, so it's just going to take me a second to bring it up.
We likely have a tornado just west of Bourbon.
Okay. Let's get back to that. There is the Steelville camera coming in from the Huzzah Valley Resort. You can see the unsettled looking skies there. Let's get back to the radar. We're trying to give you some visual on that.
Yeah, so folks in Bourbon, just south of Sullivan, make sure to take that tornado safety place, your basement, the lowest, most interior part of your home, away from doors and windows. You do not want to be out driving in this, as it looks like this tornado could likely pass over I-44, like we keep mentioning, in between Sullivan and Cuba. And that is in Crawford County. It looks like that rotation is, it's still continued to be relatively very tight, which is not a good thing in terms of meteorological terminology. It's right over northern Crawford County, just barely to the south of Franklin County. So that's why they did issue that tornado warning for also Franklin and, of course, Crawford. Not only the tornado, potentially confirmed tornado west of Bourbon, we're also dealing with some monster hail too, 2.5 inch diameter hail, which is upwards of tennis ball size hail. On the northern edge of that storm. So, incredibly large hail as well, too, Angela.
This is just a classic sign of rotation here on the radar. We have our velocity mode here pulled up for you to show you that. I've broadened out the view a little bit. So if you are along and let's say west of Highway 19 now, you are clear from that rotation. However, Leesburg to Bourbon to Sullivan, this storm is moving in your direction right now. As Haley mentioned, if you're hearing us and you are not in your basement, get there now. Do not plan to leave your house. Let these storms pass. We are showing you a look here from St. James there. Now, this is just to the west of this storm. This is on that corner there, that northeastern corner of Phelps County into St. James. You can see just how wet things are there as the storm has rolled through. But again, the tornado focus on this is in northern Crawford County, now to the east of Highway 19 and starting to move right across the I-44 corridor, very near Bourbon, Missouri. I want folks in southern Franklin County and western portions of Washington County to also be ready for this. Can we go to extreme weather specialist, meteorologist Chris Higgins? He's been tracking some radar trends for us with this storm as we continue to track it here. Oh, all right, we are looking off here to St. James. I'm sorry, this is now the Cuba, Missouri camera. Yeah, this is Cuba, Missouri. We may have confirmation of that tornado on the ground from our Cuba, Missouri camera. Does look like that is. I'm getting some confirmation here with Haley on this. Looks like we can see. There we go, bringing it in full screen here. This is the MoDOT camera in Cuba, Missouri, looking back to the north and east at this storm as it moves across I-44.
It's going to move straight over I-44.
It's going to move right across I-44.
in Bourbon. So folks driving on I-44, if you can hear us, just definitely make sure to pull over. You do not want to be caught up in the storm when you're driving.
I hope nobody's on I-44 right now as the storm goes across. I hope those folks have stopped and are waiting.
That's a tornado on the ground.
That is a tornado.
Wow.
Could you let the folks know, the National Weather Service, that we've got that on a camera there? Yep. Thank you, Haley. We're all tracking this here in real time. Again, tornado all but confirmed here just to the northeast of Cuba, really about to move across the Bourbon area right now. I'm trying to determine if that is a smoke plume or a tornado. That's the only thing that has me concerned. And yeah, so, but there's definitely something going, this is definitely where our strongest storms are right now. Bottom line, all the indications are that this is a storm that is rotating. We have an ongoing tornado warning for northern parts of Crawford County, and you guys are really in the heart of this storm right now. Let me shift this over just a little bit and kind of give you the latest here. We'll broaden out the view and show you what we're talking about. We'll go back here actually to the power Doppler, show you the movement of this storm. So that tornado warning continues until 11:45 for Crawford and Franklin counties. This storm is rolling right along the border of Crawford and Franklin County right now, Bourbon, Sullivan area, and I bet this gets extended here into Washington County and farther east into Franklin County in the next minutes here. This storm is about to roll right over I-44, and aside from the threat of just torrential rain and a possible tornado that we've been tracking right along I-44. Also massive hail here, potentially up to tennis ball size hail coming down with this storm as it rolls right now across I-44. Let me clear off some of this. This is a little bit dated here and broaden out the view here for you. We'll put this into velocity mode, and we're looking for where these reds and greens kind of come together. That's the area that we watch with these potentially rotating storms, and it is right over I-44 right now. So Bourbon area, you need to be in your safe space. Sullivan as well. You need to be anywhere north of Highway 8 in that northeast corner of Crawford County. So east of Cuba, Bourbon area, Leesburg area, Sullivan area. This is the area that is under this storm right now. You're looking off to the north and east with our Cuba, Missouri camera there from MoDOT, keeping an eye on that storm. Getting some reports now in that we have had a little bit of a downdraft with this storm as well. That is likely creating 55 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts at this time.
Chris Higgins just reported a 60 mile per hour wind in Cuba.
From the downdraft of
Correct.
that storm? Yeah.
And it looks like this storm is actually cycling, which is not always a good thing too.
No.
So we lost the first area of rotation, but as it continues to kind of redevelop and regrow back into a stronger form, we could see another area of rotation that begins to develop, and we're already seeing that.
Yeah, so what Haley's talking about is that couplet, what we call it, that area where the winds are moving kind of opposite of each other, has relaxed a little bit, but the storm kind of spins a little bit and kind of like an ice skater kind of tightens up that spin a little bit, and then that's where we get concerned about that rotation once again. Again, meteorologist Haley Fitzpatrick here in the studio with me, and I appreciate everybody watching us here on the Power of Two, because we are really watching this potentially dangerous storm moving across Crawford County right now. We want our folks there to take hold. Real quickly, two things that I want to do here. One, just getting updated from the Cardinals. We will not have a game starting up today. I know they have a day game. That's downtown St. Louis. That's away from this severe storm right now. However, they are going to post that out. Let's bring in extreme weather specialist now, meteorologist Chris Higgins. Chris, we wanted to go to you a little bit earlier but then we got that video out of Cuba. Again, we're watching Northern Crawford County closely. What can you add to us here? Oh, okay, I apologize. All right, I apologize for that. We'll try to get to Chris Higgins here in a little bit. Haley and I, again, meteorologist Haley Fitzpatrick and I are tracking this storm as it goes through Crawford County. Haley, you've been keeping an eye on the chat here for us. Are we getting in any other kind of information?
The only other information I've really gotten is that there's likely golf ball size hail in Bourbon, likely going to be moving into Sullivan, Oak Grove Village, again, right over that I-44 corridor, basically in between Cuba and St. Clair. This is a massive supercell, not only containing the potential for some large hail. At one point, this cell was dropping tennis ball size hail. Again, it's weakened over the last several radar scans. Now it's likely golf ball size, but still massive in terms of its strength. We had a well-defined couplet in a likely confirmed tornado just west of Bourbon, maybe about 5 or 10 minutes ago, and the storm is cycling, meaning it's lost its strength, but it's continuing to grow in strength the further it travels east into an atmosphere that's been relatively untouched over the last over 24 hours. And so that's just going to be kind of the prime aspect today, a very unstable atmosphere. We have a very high risk for severe weather. You can see on the right side of your screen over in Cuba, it looks like it is pouring. I don't see any lightning. If you guys happen to see
I haven't
lightning.
seen much. Well, let me, I can turn the lightning on here. So it is registering on the radar, but I haven't really noticed it there. That may be kind of blinded by that heavy downpour. You're looking at up towards this storm from Cuba, that heavy blinding rain that is coming down. But yeah, and this cell is being quickly followed by another one of these that it's going through here. Did want to quickly update you so again, we have this tornado warning here primarily for northeastern Crawford County now. However, as expected, and I'm going to kind of shift things here just a little bit, we have a new severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible and high hail threat here. So what we call threat considerable, that's been issued now, that as expected is now pushing farther east through Franklin County. So along and south of St. Clair towards the Jefferson County line, and then on into this severe thunderstorm warning goes on into western portions of Jefferson County here right now. So this is our newest severe thunderstorm warning, hail up to tennis ball size possible. Again, this is kind of out leading edge of this storm we've been tracking with the potential for a tornado here in Crawford County. So this is what we've been watching very, very closely. Again, storm kind of cycling here a little bit, and we may have had some pretty massive hail and some damaging winds with this storm. Let's get out now we do now have extreme weather specialist meteorologist Chris Higgins. Haley and I watching this storm. How are you seeing it, Chris? And what are you watching closely?
Watching the warm front try and blow north ahead of that storm, Angela, very carefully. We are on our way south on 55, making our way down pretty close to Festus right now. And what I want to do, we're getting ready to get back on the interstate on 55 here. I want to go to, if we can, guys, max 12. I've got power Doppler up there right now with the location of the warm front. And one of the things that we watch real carefully on here is where that warm front is, because that is the maximum zone of rotation in the atmosphere. So what we're watching, you can see where that warm front is. The severe thunderstorm and tornado warning is centered right on Sullivan and just to the south. But you see how the warm front extends to the east and southeast from there? We need to watch these other smaller cells that are developing right along that warm front. They're not currently warmed right now, but they're right on the warm front in a very rotationally rich environment, and these could very quickly develop rotation and possible tornadoes. So we're talking St. Genevieve County and Perry County, between Chester and Perryville, and also northeast of Park Hills. That's to the east of the main high precipitation supercell that's coming out of Crawford County. As you mentioned, it appears to be cycling, which is not at all unusual for a system like this, and it is spreading east along this warm front. So just because it's
cycling right now, as long as it's sitting on that warm front, we've got to watch it very, very carefully for new development that might start a little bit to the southwest, and then as it rolls up over that warm front, then we start to get really, really concerned about not just small, quick spin-up tornadoes, but larger, longer track, more destructive type tornadoes. So that would be in the area east-southeast of Bourbon and Sullivan. No warning currently in effect down there right now towards Richwoods, but we need to watch it because that is a prime zone just south of the severe thunderstorm warning and right along that warm front. Let me go ahead and take you to our roof camera as we head on out to the south, and you can see in the roof camera what I'm talking about. Some of those towering cumulus thunderstorm towers right along the warm front out in the distance there. That's the warm front trying to bow to the north, and if any of these gets a root and really starts to develop, you're going to see a pretty rapid development along those. You can actually see how these storms are tilting from right to left. That's the extreme amount of wind shear that's pushing these storms over, and then as the instability feeds into these, they could build rather quickly. So we're heading south. We're going to be ahead of that thunderstorm, the tornado warned cell to our west. In fact, as I bring the camera over and we clear the horizon here, you'll get a pretty good look at the new towers going up out there to the west, just over the hilltop there. So we'll keep you posted on what we see here from the Woods Basement System Storm Runner. Angela and Haley, you guys are doing a great job back there at the station. We'll give you the ground truth from out here in the field. Back to you.
Thanks, Chris. As always, you and Brian, be careful there in the Storm Runner for us. We'll check back with you here soon. All right, broaden this scene back out. Again, Chris was just bringing it to you, that warm front there, the focus line. Our focus has been and will continue to be on southern Franklin County, northeastern portions of Crawford County, and as Chris was just mentioning now, also northern parts of Washington County, and eventually we're going to see these storms push into western portions of Jefferson County. And Chris was just talking about this, and I was watching the National Weather Service, and as we've expected, they have now not only issued that downstream severe thunderstorm warning, but we have a new tornado warning that has just come out that is going to be our primary focus here into northern parts of Washington County. So let me get you the very latest. This is, again, all coming in since the 11 o'clock hour when these storms started to show these signs of rotation. This is going to be moving along that warm front here. This is the same kind of energy that's pushing out from the tornado warned storm that had been moving across Crawford County, that moved across Highway 19 and has moved across the I-44 corridor now and is pushing towards the Washington County line. So our new tornado warning is in effect now until 12:15. This is for Northeast Crawford County, but also now Northern Washington County and all of Southeastern Franklin County for this storm, moving now near Sullivan, moving east at about 30 miles per hour. So just something to note that has slowed down just a little bit, had been moving at 40 miles per hour, now moving at 30 miles per hour. So not quite rocketing as fast as before. Not only does this have the threat to produce some tornadoes, which we are watching for, hence the tornado warning, but also the threat for large diameter hail, quarter size or larger, for this storm as it moves its way eastward now, kind of getting ready to exit Crawford County and move into Washington County and continuing across southern parts of Franklin County. This storm could also be producing 50 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts. If you are in the Richwoods area specifically, I know there's other smaller communities, but anywhere northern Washington County here, again, now moving out of Sullivan towards Richwoods, we're looking kind of south of St. Clair here now. As this moves across the I-44 corridor, this is our newest severe thunderstorm warning. Storm right now on top of Bourbon, Sullivan, Oak Grove Village, that Sullivan Oak Grove Village exit off of I-44, one that's very popular as folks are headed down towards maybe the Lake of the Ozarks or on towards Springfield or Branson. This storm is south of St. Clair, although St. Clair, you are under a severe thunderstorm warning right now, kind of on the northern edge of this storm system as it moves eastward here right now. Not seeing any additional storm reports come in. Haley, have I missed any that you've seen?
No, something I did want to mention is that we are also simulcasting on KMOX radio. So if you happen to, be driving, or if you know somebody driving, they could hear our voices and hear our broadcast. There's a lot of cloud to ground lightning as far north as Macoupin County into portions of the northern extent of our broadcast area. And we're even getting some sounds of some thunder here at the Fox 2 News station too, all out ahead of this big system. We're looking at some light to moderate rain, but the reason why we're going to wall and on your screens is due to the nature of this tornado warning that now includes, like you mentioned, Angela, Washington County, and a severe thunderstorm warning not only for portions of, it looks like they may have dropped it if I am not mistaken. They now have issued a flash flood warning for Crawford, for Franklin, and Gasconade counties. It's likely putting down at least 1 inch to 2 inches of water an hour. So not only are our lakes, our creeks, our streams, they're all kind of at capacity right now. The storms and the rain today definitely not going to help with that too. I continue to monitor the our storm relative velocity. It's basically how we measure the winds up inside the thunderstorm and the kind of mid-levels of the atmosphere in terms of rotation. And like we've mentioned over the last 5 to 10 minutes, that the storm lost its incredible tight rotation, which we did not like to see. That was just west of Bourbon moments ago. And it's now broadened out. It looks like the broad rotation is just passed over I-44, just to the south of Sullivan, which we've also been mentioning. Sullivan was the hot spot yesterday morning for that weak rotation that we saw. I want to send things over to our extreme weather specialist, meteorologist Chris Higgins. He is in the Woods Basement System Storm Runner tracking all of this. Chris, give us an update where you're at and what's going on over there.
Yeah, we continue to make our way south on 55 now. We're out ahead of the storm by a decent amount. It is off to our right. We are going to be able to get into position, it looks like, ahead of the storm. And just ahead of us, you can see these towering cumulus towers. Those are building thunderstorm towers that are blowing up along that warm front that we mentioned earlier. We need to watch those and watch those carefully for possible quick spin-up tornadoes that could then get some staying power and last for a while. So we're watching that very, very carefully as we look off to the south. I've just lost connectivity down here. We went through a low spot, so I might need to send it back to you. But okay, there we go. I've got it back. So again, if guys in the studio, if you can pull up Max. Hold on just a second. Somebody's moving my computer around. Yeah, let's go ahead and do try and do max 12 here. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna send it back to you right now. I'm gonna send it back to you because I'm having some computer issues back. Let me go ahead and send it back to you guys in the studio.
All right, thanks, Chris. We'll take it from here for now. Again, broaden out the view here, show you what's happening. As expected here, just before lunchtime, thunderstorms have been moving into the St. Louis area. As Haley mentioned, we have thunder now here in Maryland Heights, although Metro St. Louis right now is north of any of the severe warned storms that we're talking about. Here is the 270, 255 loop. But again, starting to get some rain and thunder here as well. This area to the south is along a warm front that's lifting through the area. We have some non-severe thunderstorms from about the St. Genevieve area, now towards Chester in Illinois. But our focus is on kind of these two rounds of storms, and especially this leading edge here, one that's working its way right across I-44 right now. This is where we have both severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings ongoing. The southern edge of this storm is the strongest, so we continue to have a tornado warning for Crawford County for another couple of minutes here, but this storm is quickly moving off to the east and will be primarily over far southeastern portions of Franklin County and northern Washington counties. If you are in the Richwoods area, you need to be in your safe space. If you're south of Highway 30, go ahead and get to your safe space right now because this storm has had a history of showing some tight rotation and could cycle here. And we've been watching that circulation to see if that will kind of tighten back up over southern Franklin and northern parts of Washington counties. We had a look at our view from Cuba, Missouri a little earlier, showing what looked like some very heavy downpours coming down. Getting a report now that that was actually a fire in that area, maybe from a lightning strike. We'll have to get more information on that, but that was right over the exact area where we were tracking a potential tornado that had been potentially sighted by a park ranger and was showing very good evidence on the radar of being just that. But now this storm continues to move east at about 30 miles per hour. As far north as the Union area, St. Clair area, you are under a severe thunderstorm warning that extends into and along the Highway 30 corridor into Jefferson County. But again, the tornado warning that we've been on kind of tracking from Oak Hill now to the Sullivan and Bourbon areas is now moving into especially parts of northern Washington County. Now on top of that, we also have the threat for some very large diameter hail with this storm as it continues to work its way off to the east here, again, moving at about 30 miles per hour. Let me bring that on here for you. And again, the areas in the pink there, quarter size, ping pong ball, golf ball size hail possible. Getting reports out of Sullivan of some very strong wind gusts coming through right now. Blowing trees around. 20-yard visibility right now in Sullivan, Missouri. So again, do not be leaving your house right now. Golf ball size hail reported in Sullivan, parts of the Sullivan area right now. So again, Sullivan, Missouri, I-44 corridor getting absolutely hammered right now between St. Clair and Sullivan at this point in time. Those are just some of the reports coming in from this storm. We're going to bring on the Sullivan camera here. This is our MoDOT camera there, 44 and 185. And again, blinding rain coming down. And as I get back, I'll get back here to the power Doppler if I can. We'll show you, I'll turn the lightning back on. And again, numerous cloud to ground lightning strikes, large hail, high winds, blinding rain with this storm. And again, we've been watching this, again, kind of the broadening out of this potential area of rotation with this storm was much tighter a little earlier on, but still keeping an eye here across northern parts of Washington County, right along the Franklin County line for some rotation in that area. Large hail, about quarter to golf ball size now coming down for a report from Merrimack State Park in this area. And again, so again, I-44 corridor now just moving east of the I-44 corridor. So starting to pull away from Sullivan, away from Bourbon, but again, moving north of Highway 8 into Washington County now. A couple of other quick mentions here for you. If you're headed to the ball game, you may want to hold off. It's been postponed as a day baseball game. We are also simulcasting on KMOX, so if you do need to head out, maybe head east. Get us on your radio in your cars so you can listen to us there. And getting an alert from the Parkway School District that they are going to be closely monitoring this and maybe doing an early release in those areas right now as well. So again, Chris Higgins, Haley Fitzpatrick, and I have been on the air with you since this tornado warning came out at 11 a.m. Chief Meteorologist Glenn Zimmerman is also joining us now on the coverage, and we'll get updates with him. We're all watching this particular cell here, the strongest bit of these storms, again, starting to move into Washington County. And so we're going to watch this. If you are in Richwoods, if you are still in the Sullivan area, you need to be in your safe space right now. If you live in anywhere across northern Washington County on into Jefferson County, so Highway 30 south of there, west of Highway 21, be in your safe space right now. Let's bring in Glenn.
Hi there. How you doing?
Hi. You know, we were watching these storms. We knew they had the potential to bring in all these modes of severe weather. And right as we kind of expected. We said 11 a.m.
Right.
Boom, we just got right into the heart of it.
And that was about as clearly defined, on the radar at least, of a tornado signature that we've ever seen here in the Fox 2 viewing area.
Yeah.
Just amazing. So, warnings continue at this moment, and obviously an atmosphere that is primed for more thunderstorm development as we go through the next several hours. Lots of things to watch. The immediate thing to watch is that rotation right there. Again, it rolled between Cuba and Sullivan, and it continues that eastward push now into the northern parts of Washington County. You can see that movement there, and the warnings that are in place currently. The Broadview actually will have more in the way of thunderstorm energy trying to work in from the west. So you can see north of Rolla, there's a wave of energy that could be picking up some of that instability as that wave moves into an atmosphere that is, again, primed and ready for more thunderstorm development. So lots of things to watch out for. Obviously, the tornado warning as it continues here for the next half hour or so, 15 minutes. Yeah, we'll watch that continue to evolve through Rich Woods, now just sort of past Sullivan, Cuba, St. Clair, you're on the edge of it, Rich Woods, heading into the western parts, or the southwestern parts, really to be more specific, of Jefferson County. So Hillsborough, DeSoto, and Festus should all be starting to make some plans to take shelter right now, because generally this storm, as it moves off to the east, it will continue to produce severe weather. This is a Sullivan view, and that's along 44. Obviously, you can see how traffic has slowed considerably there, both on the highway and on the on-ramp. There is quite a bit of water, and obviously visibilities are extremely low as this storm system is pushing in from west to east. It's kind of now just right on the edge, or kind of passed through the Sullivan area, so the big rain and that rotation, again, continues an eastward push through northern parts of Washington County and the southern parts of Franklin County. That tornado warning does include Crawford, Franklin, Washington until 12:15 here this afternoon. That may be extended just a little bit. Again, it's riding along a favorable zone where the atmosphere is showing a gradient. It's a warm front, generally we can call it, but there is definitely an instability gradient that it is riding right along. So it should continue. You see how there's development right along that warm front just to the south, looking to St. Genevieve County and then toward Perry County, toward Chester. You see how development is happening there too. That's where that gradient is, and that's where the warm front at the moment is causing all this instability and is enough of a trigger to bring in the showers and storms and to track this generally east. It may track a little southeast here as we go through time, might track a little farther into southern Jefferson County and then the northern parts of St. Genevieve and St. Francis counties. So we'll keep an eye on that. Again, it'll generally track along that boundary line. So that is kind of the key spot to watch here over the next couple of hours at least. And then as we get into more of that energy from south to north, that warm front lifting from south to north, there is the potential for more redevelopment as we go through the afternoon. So tornado warning continues here until 12:15. Again, it is generally Crawford, Franklin, and Washington County, but for sure now moving toward Potosi, moving past Bourbon and Sullivan, and that rotation toward Rich Woods, and then the western or southwestern parts of Franklin County or Jefferson County, I should say, will see that rotation. It's almost moving straight east. You can kind of see the parallels with the Warned area. So that rotation right there, moving almost straight east. If you live in Richwoods right now, it is time to take cover, find your safe space, and kind of down the line eventually toward Hillsborough and DeSoto too.
And I wanted to bring this on. Let me see if I can get back here to the bigger picture. And I'm going to turn off the tornado warning just briefly and bring on the flood warnings, because this is going to override it by the tornado warning, which is obviously the bigger concern, but or a large concern. But we have also gotten a flash flood warning issued by the National Weather Service, because this is just dumping torrential downpours of rain. You're getting into some of the hilly areas there in the eastern Ozarks, so that water can run down those hills very quickly, fill up those small streams and creeks, and lead to rapid rise on some of those small little tributaries of the Merrimack there. So we're going to watch that very, very quickly. I don't know if I can bring this camera up.
Thinking specifically the Huzaw,
Yeah, let's take a look at
Big
that right
River goes through Jefferson County. There's Steelville and the Huzaw Valley Resort there. Doesn't look like there's much of a water change there just yet, but we'll keep track of that, and you can kind of see the benchmarks there with the bridge piers and that tree that's on the right-hand side. We'll keep an eye on that view of the Huzaw Valley Resort and Steelville. Doesn't look like Steelville at least has had a ton of rain just yet, at least by that view. They're starting to have some dark clouds there, but watching that river view very carefully.
See if our Cedar Hill camera will load for me here. So we're doing this all in real time.
Yeah.
Again, we're with you on KMOX right now, radio, along with KPLR and Fox 2 here on the Power of Two.
Here we go.
And we are, that's not going to load for me. Let me get you back to the radar because that really tells the story. Haley, we missing anything in the chat back there? Have you seen any storm reports come in?
The only thing that I'm really noting is the latest radar scans. They're showing that hook reappearing and kind of redeveloping. So the rotation is definitely increasing in the lower levels of the atmosphere, and that also starts to become kind of a scary thing because we had very tight rotation just to the west of Bourbon. It kind of let up for a little while, and now it's beginning to recycle and reform. Right over portions of northern, kind of northwestern Washington County, so areas like Richwoods in Washington County. Let's go ahead and make sure to find that safe place as the storm continues to cycle and kind of rides along that warm front, which is going to be its main source of energy, so to say, the very warm and humid air mass. But that's kind of all I'm noting, and I continue to monitor that rotation and how it kind of cycles and pulses up and down, but it's looking like it's going to tighten back up here shortly.
It's been interesting to watch. Yeah, thanks, Haley. Yeah, great observation. These storms out ahead of the warm front, also farther south, are actually moving more north, and this cell's moving east at about 30 miles per hour, and I'm almost wondering if almost like a car accident might start to spin that storm a little bit more, helping to reform that circulation.
Anytime you get a boundary in the atmosphere like that, any kind of movement that's odd in the direction of the original storm, you're going to start to fire something. So there's a lot of things to watch, a lot of mechanics in the atmosphere that we're kind of keeping a close eye on here, along with our partners at the National Weather Service as this storm again is tracking through the northern parts of Washington County. It's pretty tight rotation now starting to take place currently. Again, these are all Doppler radar views. I don't think we've had any ground truth just yet of any kind of damage, have we?
We had one report from a park ranger who reported a funnel cloud, and then we had what we thought might have been some ground truth. Turns out it was actually smoke, maybe from a lightning strike that caused a fire. I don't have that confirmed, but we are being told that that was actually smoke, not a tornado. But it was right in that heart of the strongest bit of the storm as it was rolling through. And this is the area that we are watching here for this potential rotation. This is where it is tightening back up over northwestern Washington County right now. So again, downfield to Richwoods right now. You need to be in your safe space and then on into Jefferson County as well. Richwoods right at noon and Kingston School at 12:07. I know we have to leave the Power of Two here shortly. We will be continuing our coverage here. As long as we have a tornado warning, we're going to be continuing our storm coverage here on Studio STL. Coming up here on Fox 2. Thank you for sticking with us here through this hour. I know you expected a newscast, but we needed to get this important weather information out. And we are going to continue team storm coverage for you here on Studio STL, on air, online throughout the day. Glenn?
As the tornado warnings continue, and we've circled that rotation there, as you can see, and this is a cell that is starting to show at least a little bit of sign of a little more of a spin up, a little more of a tightening of the gradient, the wind gradient here. We're kind of getting another update, a Doppler wind update here, a wind profile view of the system. But anytime you can see and, I'll just sort of boil all the meteorology out of this, is when we look at the radar, we see the bright reds and the whites really close to the greens. What we're seeing literally on the Doppler radar is rain coming to and away from the radar screen or from the radar site. So we can see that that is a rotation in the atmosphere. Now, sometimes that can be a broad rotation. At the moment, it does look just a little bit broad, but we're seeing signs that at all levels, it's starting to tighten up once again. So if we've seen all these tornadoes out across Oklahoma and Kansas and Nebraska over the last several days, where you see a funnel. Well, that's sort of the first signs of rotation in the atmosphere, at least visually, but we can see up a little higher up in the clouds where even some of those base clouds are starting to rotate, and that's kind of what we're seeing on the Doppler radar. It is literally a first sign that there could be a tornado forming in this area. First, the rotation mid-level, and then a funnel would be produced, and then if that funnel would touch the ground, then we can call it a tornado. So we say that there are tornado warnings, and while we're getting confirmation sort of through our radar scans, we haven't really had any ground truth just yet that there has been any tornado touchdown. Of course, we're trying to give you the first storm alert, literally here, as the things are starting to develop across northern Washington County, southern Franklin County, and extending into the southern parts of Jefferson County, too. So as this continues an eastward push, you can see how that whole cell is moving east now and starting to show, at least by standard Doppler radar scans here, we'll call it the rain mode, but on standard scans here, you can see this thing is producing quite a bit of energy. Number one, some big downpours of rain. Where that white arrow is pointing, there may also be some really large hail happening there. We knew that baseball-sized hail was a possibility with these storm systems, and that certainly could be possible here. But as we see this tornado warning continue, there's the hail potential. Doesn't look super extreme at the moment. We actually saw some bigger hail earlier today out near or just north of Lake of the Ozarks, where there was some golf ball, tennis ball size hail in that zone. But now as this storm tracks east, it could still be producing some very large and damaging hail. Bottom line here is, no matter what the warning here, if it's a severe thunderstorm warning or a tornado warning, it is time to find a safe space or a shelter and make plans. Hopefully you've already made some plans with your family to get information out and to know where the safe spaces are for you. But at this point, you should be taking shelter through northern Washington County. And I would say let's extend that also in towards southern Jefferson County as this storm progresses from west to east.
I'm not liking showing a little bit more signs of that rotation here on these latest scans here as the storm moves out of Crawford County and into Washington County right now. Let's kind of update this zone. And we've been tracking this storm since the Gasconade and Crawford County line, and now moving across that southern Franklin County line into Washington County right now. Again, this is the area that we are watching very, very closely. This is kind of firming up here a little bit. This is where we have that tornado warning in effect until at least 12:15, and I think that's going to get pushed eastward and likely extended as we see this tightening up here a little bit right now. Again, storm moving east at about 30 miles per hour, so we can't stress it enough. Richwood's one of the larger communities, but obviously lots of folks living up here in and out of communities across northern parts of Washington County, so make sure you are in your safe space right now. Again, then over towards, let's go ahead and say Hillsborough down to DeSoto, that Highway 21 corridor into Jefferson County. Let's get ready in that area as well, as this storm has been working its way due east. And while that's kind of the southern flank of this is where the heaviest weather has been, or the most concerning weather maybe perhaps, we've talked about the hail and the blinding rain that's absolutely coming down with this storm. We do have that severe thunderstorm warning that continues farther north from St. Clair, riding out along that Highway 30 corridor into Jefferson County as well.
Angela, you mentioned on the radar scan, we're starting to see that notching on that southern edge there near Steelville. I'm doing a little scan here on a different radar view, and there may be another rotation trying to spin up within that notch. There's just a hint of that happening right now, just to the north of Steelville. So that notch you see just past Leesburg, north of Steelville, within that zone, there may be some rotation starting to take place there as well. So a line that continues to obviously develop in that unstable air and that boundary that's in place along that warm front. That warm front is really feeding the instability. And as it lifts north, it could lift some of that instability a little farther north toward Metro St. Louis. Now, that may be a little farther down the line here as we go into the afternoon and maybe early evening. But we are seeing signs of that sort of motion in the atmosphere. When you see this little wave that is pushing from south to north, it's just right on the edge of this whole thunderstorm complex. It's kind of rolling into the 30 corridor right now. When you see that little wave out ahead, that is a boundary that could be enhancing a little more of the spin of this rotating storm. So again, lots of mechanics in the atmosphere. Bottom line, the message is trying to take shelter now, northern Washington County and southern Jefferson County.
You mentioned looking for ground truth, and that's what we always like to tell you. Just getting updates in from the Emergency Management Office in Sullivan, Missouri, that they have extreme flooding and some trees down in that area. The storm just pushing, the worst of that storm, just pushing east of Sullivan now. I do want to quickly just point out that folks that have seen this storm come through, Oak Hill, Highway 19 corridor, Bourbon and Sullivan. We don't have a warning on this storm, but there is a second pretty potent thunderstorm coming in right on the heels of this. So if maybe you were thinking, I'm going to pop outside and see if I have any damage or check on folks or try to head somewhere to check on folks, don't just yet. I know there's not a warning on this storm, but some more blinding rain, frequent lightning, possibility of some hail coming in. That storm right now kind of right on the Gasconade and Crawford County line, moving right over the same area that this previous cell did. Again, we don't have warnings on that storm, but that doesn't mean it's not a potent storm nevertheless. So you're getting a look here in that Crawford County zone here for you as we look out front. Is that our Cuba camera again? Is that Sullivan? Okay, I apologize. That's our Sullivan camera. You can see just how wet everything is in that area. And again, the Emergency Management Office is there reporting extreme flooding and trees down in that area right now. So I just wanted to mention that. Don't head out to check on things right now. Stay in your safe space, or at least stay inside, because there's another round of storms coming in right behind where we have the tornado and severe thunderstorm warnings.
I just actually literally on a secondary radar here opened up the Springfield Doppler radar, and I'm looking at that southern Gasconade storm right now. It's north of Cuba near Owensville. There's definitely some broad rotation there. There may be some damaging winds coming out of that thunderstorm right now. So south of Owensville, between Owensville, Cuba, Leesburg, and just to the west of Bourbon. And the movement of that is, again, kind of in that same trajectory as our tornado-warned storm. So yeah, Oak Hill, kind of right in the middle of it right now. There may be some winds coming out of this system that could be causing some damage or potentially could cause damage. So north of Cuba, towards Sullivan, in that 44 corridor, we see that secondary thunderstorm rolling in behind the tornadic storm that has been rolling into the northern parts of Washington County. So, yeah, not quite, it's not quite a one and done scenario here for sure as we see more development. And there should be more development at least farther southwest along that flank too as we go through the afternoon and evening. This evening, a Cuba view right now. It's a wicked sky for sure, and I know a lot of people are seeing that and projecting out of what this will look like for them. It is definitely a dangerous situation looking into that thunderstorm complex right now. I'm not quite sure what direction that is looking. I think that's probably looking a little more north and east along 44 toward Metro St. Louis as that dark and low-based cloud is now starting to approach Cuba. That's the one that I think is potentially causing some damaging winds eventually there for Cuba and for Sullivan and for Bourbon once again.
Again, all of this riding right along a boundary here in the atmosphere. Just broadened out the view here for you briefly to show you the multiple, put it in motion here again, the multiple areas of thunderstorms. The one area there that is warned, but also we have thunderstorms moving through Randolph County in Illinois. We've got storms pushing towards Perry County in Illinois. So if you are in the Highway 51 corridor there in southern Perry County in Illinois, Tamaroa, DuQuoin, south of Pinckneyville, good thunderstorm moving in your direction. Not a warning on that, but a heads up in that direction as well.
Let's check in with our extreme weather specialist, Chris Higgins. He's in the Woods Basement System storm runner, and he's been kind of watching this boundary and this atmosphere. And Chris, kind of give us a little visual on what you're seeing right now.
Yeah, we are in prime position now, right ahead of the supercell as it comes to the east. We are in Festus, actually a little bit south of Festus, and that is our view looking due west or a little bit south of due west from our perch here. We are high on top of one of the highest points here south of Festus, and you can see off to the left where skies kind of clear out a little bit. That's sort of the flanking line on the southern edge down towards Richwoods and points to the south from there. And then as we bring the camera on the horizon in the distance and bring it to the right, we come closer and closer to the main core of the storm up here to our north and northwest, and it gets in behind that house. So we are in a really good spot. And in fact, on the distant horizon, I'm going to zoom right in over this garage here. I'm starting to see the base, and I don't know how well it translates here on camera back to you, but I'm starting to see the base of the mothership, if you will, of the main storm out there. You can kind of see a darkening in the sky just above the horizon. I think that's the base of the actual storm itself as it spreads onto the east. Tell you what, guys in the control room, if you can go ahead and double box my camera view from where we are right now. Let me zoom out, and the radar. If you can give me max 12. Can you put max 12 in the radar? Okay. And I'll show you kind of exactly where we are right now. I am right about here, looking due west toward the notch. All right. So it's still a ways away as the crow flies. That's a pretty good distance still. And as you mentioned, it is slowing down. But the air here, we are right on the warm front a little bit, and the reason we can tell is when I bring the camera over to the left, you can see the towering cumulus clouds kind of right along the front starting to build in from the south. So we are right along or just north of that warm front, and the area to watch is when these storms develop and move along the warm front. So we're right in position, and folks in northern Washington County and eventually into central Jefferson County need to be ready to take shelter because all the conditions are there. It's just a matter of getting them to line up appropriately at the right place and the right time. We hope it doesn't happen, but it is certainly the possibility. Glenn, you've talked about the mid-level rotation being stronger and then working its way down. That's why we have this huge area of hail in here, northwest of Richwoods. I wouldn't be surprised if the hailstones are pushing up to tennis ball size in that area right now, southeast of St. Clair. So as that moves east into Jefferson County towards us, we'll either get hit by that or have a view of the wall cloud. I have to presume there's a wall cloud with this just over the horizon to the west. But that's the latest from our location right now. Again, we're just south of Festus, in line with the approaching storm. And as it gets closer, we'll have a better read. But it is warm, it's humid, a bit breezy up here on the hillside, but unfortunately it feels primed for strong to severe storms to continue to the east. Glenn?
Yeah, and we'll continue to watch that leading edge there. Again, right on the edge of Richwoods right now, kind of right on the edge of Jefferson County as the storms continue to work off to the east here. Current scenario, again, still has the tornado warning for another couple of minutes or so. The zone to really watch at the moment is... and now they're extending that tornado warning as we've kind of been projecting out. You can see now as the warning box is appearing on the Doppler radar, the warning will continue now in through southern parts of Jefferson County. So anywhere from, say, Dittmer, Cedar Hill, south to Hillsborough and DeSoto, now under a tornado warning. And that will continue here for the next few minutes, the next half hour to 45 minutes or so, as this line of thunderstorms is pushing off to the east. Now, I have this in motion at the moment, but I want to kind of stop it and show you what we're looking at here. There's a lot of stuff on the screen currently, so let me get some of this off. The current view has this rotating wind right in through here. Now, this is sort of broad at the moment, but we've seen this starting to tighten up just a little bit. It's been not quite a fast process, not quite as fast as what we saw the spin up earlier today when the storms developed across parts of Phelps and Gasconade, and then eventually into the Cuba area, the southern Franklin County area, northern Washington County area. But that rotation eventually could start to spin up even more here as we go through the next couple of minutes. And the trajectory again with this is almost straight east. So you draw that line from Richwoods toward Festus, and this warning does include everything literally in Jefferson County from Imperial, Barnhart, Kimmswick, all the way down to Crystal City and Festus, just north of St. Genevieve and just to the north of the Jefferson County, St. Francis County and St. Genevieve County line, but anywhere within the southern Jefferson County area. Now, tornado warning, time to take shelter currently as this broad level rotation continues to push off to the east. So again, something to watch here as the tornado warning has been extended into Jefferson County. Let me put this back in motion, and you can see, at least from the wind profiler mode, again, there is somewhat of a tightening of this rotation right in through here. So if you're not already in your safe space in Richwoods, you certainly need to be there now in the next 10 seconds or so, next 30 seconds or so, as that storm is approaching Richwoods proper, but obviously hitting several spots a little before that. And as it progresses east now, the National Weather Service has extended that tornado warning east into the western or southwestern parts of Jefferson County. So let's kind of walk you down this line. I'll put it back into our standard radar mode here, and as we're in motion just a little bit, who's currently in the warning? Well, anything in the Highway 30 corridor now, from Scottsdale south into Cedar Hill Lakes, the Dittmer area, now along that big river, Hillsborough, and into the 21 corridor, so DeSoto, Olympian Village, into Festus and Crystal City. You're into Peevely in the Warrendor area as well, along with Imperial and Kimmswick. So that rotating line, and again, real well defined here on the Doppler radar, and as we put it in the velocity or wind mode, real well defined there. In our wind mode, there is a tightening gradient of winds now that are pushing in through the northern parts of Washington County into the western and southwestern parts of Jefferson County, moving east rather quickly now, so it is time to take shelter in both of those areas.
Emergency, if we come on just quickly here, emergency managers across Franklin County are starting to weigh in now that that initial storm is moving out. Mentioned a lot of ongoing flooding in the in Sullivan, Missouri. Also showed you a little earlier, Highway 185 there at 44, getting a report on Little Boone Creek Road in Franklin County of water over the roadway. Again, 1 mile west of 185, Little Boone Creek Road, water over the roadway. So that's in Franklin County. So again, that I-44 corridor, Bourbon up to Sullivan, and then going eastward now, that's where we're starting to see some of those. So storm reports start to come in, and so again, we are watching things closely. I'm going to be, I think, stepping aside, letting Glenn Zimmerman take over. Meteorologist Haley Fitzpatrick still here. Meteorologist Jamie Travers is here. John Fuller is here.
Yeah.
And of course, extreme meteorologist Chris Higgins out in the field for us. So you've got good company.
How long have you been on the air, Angela?
We've been talking about storms for a little while this morning.
Well done.
And I'm sure I'll be tracking them
Yeah,
even if I'm not talking to you about it.
absolutely. So well done, Angela. And we sort of make this transition now to our afternoon coverage as we continue to monitor on the Power Doppler and online and by ground truth in all different directions here as thunderstorms continue to progress through the bi-state area. Let me just get you back to a little bit more of a wider view to give you a little perspective on what's happening right now. This is the current scenario. Thunderstorms are building. The marquee storm, at least at the moment, is this one that's moving from northern Washington County through southern Franklin County into the western parts of Jefferson County. That is a storm that has some rotation with it, and there is a tornado warning now that it continues until I believe it's until 12:45 here as that storm cell is pushing through northern Washington County and in through the southern parts of Jefferson County. The hail that is in southeastern Franklin County could be rather significant within this, but obviously the rotation and the tornadic potential is something that we're keeping our eye on as well. As far as everything else is concerned, there are no official warnings at the moment, but this tornadic cell is building up right now along a boundary that is starting to shift just a little bit. That's a broad area where the boundary is. I've drawn it on as a warm front, and it is lifting up from south to north, and we've kind of seen motion in the atmosphere and mechanics in the atmosphere that could continue to develop thunderstorms along this zone for the next several hours. So we're going to watch this area very carefully as, again, that's where the tornadic cells have been developing, and you can see actually more minor development happening just to the west or southwest of that tornadic cell. But as this warm front is lifting north, it is a boundary in the atmosphere that there's a really tight gradient of instability. It's riding right along that gradient, right along that warm front boundary of instability, however you want to call it. But as that lifts from south to north, some of that storm energy is building up the extreme weather and the severe thunderstorms. And yes, that tornado warning. So once again, a broad rotation that is starting to tighten just a little bit. We can see this now in the northern parts of Washington County, the western parts of Jefferson County, as this rotating line. See that little hook right there? That is at least a Doppler radar view of what rotation looks like and a tornadic cell would look like. But in the velocity mode here, in our wind mode, you can really see this thing starting to dig in. And there are winds that right now are coming in toward the back side of this. When you see a push of wind just like that, when you see that wind kind of feeding into the thunderstorm, that is rotation that could be tightening up. The gradient could be tightening up over Richwoods right now as it moves from west to east. So lots of things to see on the Doppler radar. I see that John Fuller is standing by downtown right now. He's been on location here for the last few minutes. John Fuller down at Ballpark Village. And I guess, John, probably not going to play baseball on time today. The game should have started a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah, they are on hold, and the game is delayed, so it's supposed to start at 12:15. But as you look across the Busch Stadium, you'll see the sign, severe storms in the area. Please leave the seating bowl and seek shelter on the concourse stairwells and bathrooms. And as we pan across the stadium, the field is covered, at least the infield, and we're on the northern fringe of those cells that you're talking about. Wind's not very impressive. I can look at the flags on Busch Stadium, and they're barely extended, but off to the south it is murky looking, visibility down to probably 5 to 7 miles. It looks like a lot of pollen in the atmosphere as well, and from time to time we'll see a vivid snap of lightning, not only to the south, but off to the east in the leading edge of this unstable air. So once again, the baseball game on hold as folks have been instructed to seek shelter because of severe weather in the downtown area and surrounding counties for that matter. Live from Busch Stadium, Ballpark Village, I'm meteorologist John Fuller.
All right, John, we'll check back with you again as we go through the afternoon here. Game on hold at the moment, obviously severe weather in the area. When we see days like this setting up, we start to make plans. For the last several days, we've been sort of pointing at this day as being a potential thunderstorm day, a potential severe weather day. And so how does all of this affect the region? What is happening in St. Louis, in and around St. Louis during the time frame that we project out thunderstorms to happen? So yeah, day baseball. We were very concerned about the thunderstorm possibilities with 30, 40,000 people outside at Busch Stadium. That would definitely be an issue. Our number two issue, well, not to really rank these, but another issue that we were considering is schools and businesses and what procedures they would take to, number one, be out ahead of the storm, to let parents and students know that there's a potential for maybe early dismissal, or getting students in line with where shelters are and how to shelter if there is indeed a severe storm over the school. So these are all things that we've been sort of considering, and we've been in touch with not just emergency managers, but also with school district personnel, and sort of advising them behind the scenes. We are getting word at the moment that, and this is from Berkeley, Missouri Boeing plant has just sent all employees home, so they're out ahead of the storm. Also from Mercy Health, the Mercy Hospital in Jefferson County is sheltering in place at the moment, since there are thunderstorms that are pushing in there and rotation with the potential of a tornado now just past Richwoods and moving off to the east. So these are all, again, things to consider, things to plan as we go through the afternoon. If you are in the path of one of these storms, make sure that you know where to go, where to take shelter. We've certainly gone through that procedure here at Fox 2 on numerous occasions, and so we're all prepared, and hopefully you are too. So Doppler radar view again continues to point to this tornado warning that the rotation now is moving out of northern Washington County and moving into the northern parts, or in the western parts of Jefferson County. So the spin, to pinpoint really the exact location of where we're concerned, it is literally right in through there. So probably right on top of Richwoods. I would assume currently in Richwoods there may be some extreme gusts of wind. There may be some power flashes or power outages happening there at the moment as this rotation pushes from west to east toward Festus, toward Hillsborough, toward DeSoto, southern Jefferson County. The winds may be starting to pick up, and the lightning may start to increase as well. In fact, let me just put the lightning on. Yeah, lightning definitely increasing from west to east through the southern parts of Jefferson County. So that is the spin of concern, let's call it that, now moving through northern Washington County and then heading into the southwestern southern parts of Jefferson County. Really starting to tighten up quite a bit within this. So getting several reports now that there is not just lightning and thunder, but big, heavy rain. Got some visuals here from Franklin County where there is some flash flooding happening in the Melody Lakes subdivision. As I mentioned, the Mercy Hospital in Jefferson County is sheltering in place right now. Sirens are sounding currently in Jefferson County. The emergency manager is just alerting us that the sirens sounding in Jefferson County. And more information about flash flooding. There's apparently a water rescue happening right now, and it's coming from the Missouri State Highway Patrol Troop C headquarters that Highway Patrol is shutting down 185 at East Vine for a water rescue at 185 Spur. There's water across 44 eastbound and westbound at mile marker 230. So extremely heavy rain in that 44 corridor. Let me put it back into the rain mode. I keep the tornado and the tornado warning area circled just a little bit there to give you a little more perspective. But as you look on the back edge of the tornado and the tornadic warned storm, this wave of rain that's now pushing back into Sullivan, I mean, this is a quick, very fast 3/4 to maybe an inch of rain on top of this storm that rolled through about an hour ago. So flash flooding concerns, again, are going to be rising pretty quickly from west to east. So even if you are in Jefferson County now and you have a tornado warning, let's be prepared for more rain to hook up with this storm system, more energy to hook up with this cell and produce flash flooding possibilities across southern parts of Jefferson County. I'm just kind of projecting out just a little bit here through time. Of course, the current issue is the tornado warning for southern Jefferson County as rotation continues to spin up. We are getting all kinds of information through our chat with the National Weather Service. We are hooked in with them, and so we continue to watch now that rotation that is happening, intensifying low-level rotation that's happening on that cell that is now moving in through the northern parts of Washington County and now heading toward Jefferson County in that tornadic warm storm. Put it in the rain or the wind mode here for a second, and I'll just sort of draw it in. The back edge wind that's coming into this is intensifying just a little bit. So the Weather Service concerned that now there's a little more intensification of rotation happening at the moment, and as that happens, more of a low-level rotation could be starting to spin up. Again, we rely on our Weather Service partners for information on that. We also rely on our ground truth, not just from our reporters, but our extreme weather specialists. Chris Higgins is in the Woods Basement System Storm Runner. Chris, I just saw you taking a picture of the clouds. What are you seeing out there from your location?
Yeah, we're probably in the best location we could be in right now. We're in the tornado warning off of Interstate 55 south of Festus. We still have a great distance between us and the tornado, or the part of the storm that could produce a tornado, with an amazing view of it. Take a look over my shoulder back to the west. We are looking westbound towards the part of the storm where the tornado may try to develop. Now, as we get zoomed in here closer and closer to the horizon, you can see where it goes kind of from a lightness to a darkness, all right? And then as we bring the camera to the right, making our way from due west to more of a west-northwest and then north. In fact, we just had a lightning strike. That is the exact location where the rotation is located. It's to the west of Hillsborough and to the northeast of Richwoods, I believe, based on what we're seeing here on the power Doppler on the ground, or northwest of DeSoto. That is moving in our general direction. We are right north of what appears to be the warm front now, so the storm is riding that warm front to the east. In the area to the west of Hillsborough, where it's darker off to the right, where Brian has our camera right now, that's likely baseball-sized hail, or near to baseball-sized hail in the distance over the horizon. But this is the area we're watching again. Just as we bring the camera to the left a little bit, there's a little bit of a break in the trees in the distance. Brian, right there, and zoom in. Right there, and zoom in. It's going to be right in that area in the distance where the lowering of the clouds is starting to be noticeable and perceptible on the horizon. And as that moves to the east, that's where the tornado might be located, buried back in those clouds. Right now, it's a tightening rotation, a broad rotation, according to the radar, but it's in an environment where it really just wants to go. And what may happen, this thing is still hanging out over the eastern Ozarks, where the moisture is a little lower. But once it gets just east of, let's say, east of the line and moves into central Jefferson County, it's going to start to feed on more humidity that's coming north up the Mississippi River Valley. And this thing may really take off because it is in an environment where it's sitting on that warm front and has a whole lot of spin available. We talk about the ingredients for severe weather and the ingredients for tornadoes. You have to have instability, you have to have a trigger, and you have to have wind shear, both speed shear and directional shear. We have all of that in big numbers down here in this area as that tornado-warned cell makes its way onto the east. I do have a bit of information to pass along. I understand Jefferson County R7 is holding students right now. They are taking shelter as precaution, of course, as they should, with the tornado warning in effect. And that's likely, it may end up, because this thing has slowed down some, they may have to issue that warning, reissue it further into the future. And it may be that we're under a tornado warning longer than we are currently projected. But that's the latest from the ground. We'll keep this camera up as long as we can and we do have a shelter place if needed as this thing moves in. But we're right on top of it here in Festus. Glenn?
All right, Chris, keep us up to date and flag me in the monitor. Chris is in a monitor over there. Flag me in the monitor if you start to see see some visual confirmation. So let me just sort of set the stage on what's happening for us right now. We've got all kinds of people in the field monitoring, watching the storms as they're building in. We have a current tornado warning that is predominantly for Jefferson County. And as you mentioned, Chris, you are in that zone, in that tornado zone, and watching very carefully. Now, as far as storm chasers are concerned, Chris has been doing this for 30 plus years. He knows exactly where to be. He knows how to stay away from any danger and knows when to move and where to be in relationship to the worst part of the storm. We've seen a lot of storm chasers from the planes getting into bad positions just to get video. That is not what we do. We are, number one, trying to be safe and keeping everyone safe who's out in the field tracking all of these storms. And then number two, trying to give you at least a little bit of ground truth and information of how these storms are operating. So just to be full disclosure, Chris is in a good, safe spot. He knows when things are deteriorating, and he knows sort of an exit plan. These are things that he goes through in his head, and he's with our photographer Brian Ledford, who is literally our fifth Beatle, who is also been with Chris tracking storms for years. So those two together are in a place that currently is at least safe enough for an exit plan if he needs to. Let's dive into that warning once again and show you what's happening here. This is a rotating storm that we've been watching that continues to pull together. Now it's past Richwoods and it continues an eastward push currently into southern Jefferson County. So perspective, 270, 255 loop of Metro St. Louis is kind of on the northern fringe of our radar view right in through here. There's Arnold, here's Festus, Crystal City in between there, here's Richwoods. What is not mapped at the moment, but I can zoom in, what is not mapped is DeSoto and Hillsborough, and there they are. And this is a storm that is heading toward both of those cities. It's moving now from the 30 corridor into the Highway 21 corridor, north and south there through Jefferson County. The spin, the rotation that we're watching, you can see it really taking place. Watch it enter that circle right there. And then just to give you a little bit different view, there's the spin and the rotation that we're seeing really start to pull together the southwestern parts of Jefferson County. That's the rotation that we're keeping our eye on as it pushes to the east. That's why the National Weather Service has issued a tornado warning for that area. And as Chris mentioned, it's kind of slowed down just a little bit. I actually think, in just a little bit bigger view here, and I'm sorry to kind of jerk you around here with our radar view, but there are two distinct waves. This one that's causing the tornado and the spin and the tornado warning that's through southern Jefferson County. But catching up to it is this line of thunderstorms that's causing flash flooding along the 44 corridor. As noted here, we've got some flooding issues through parts of Franklin County. The Missouri Highway Patrol has shut down part of 44. It appears there's water on 44 eastbound and westbound at mile marker 230. So it appears that 44 is shut down because of heavy rain. So two distinct waves of storm energy. The problem with this potentially is that this line, the secondary line, could catch up to this tornadic line and enhance either one or both into one bigger cell, into one bigger storm that could produce more wind, more hail, and potentially more spin in the atmosphere, potentially more tornadic type cells. So this is going to be something to watch here very carefully here as we go through the next several hours as these storms sort of congeal just a little bit. Again, the main concern is that leading storm. It's showing some rotation. We've seen kind of on the back edge that there is an intensification of the winds sort of driving into that system that is producing a little more rotation and a little more spin. So as we see this starting to push in from the west, and let me just sort of pause things with the current radar scan and project this storm out just a little bit. It is moving to the east right now at about 30 miles an hour or so. So that warned cell, if it's moving east at 30 miles an hour, it moves into DeSoto here in the next 10 minutes or so, Olympian Village at 12:47, into Festus at about 10 to 1, and then Maystown in Illinois at 1 o'clock, and then farther east. So that system, while moving fairly slow by storm standards, sometimes they can move quite fast, sometimes they can move quite slow, is projected out through southern Jefferson County and eventually heading in across the Mississippi River in through Randolph County and maybe even the southern parts of Monroe County too. So sort of looking ahead here over the course of the next hour, this warned storm will continue an eastward push toward Redbud. Again, this is sort of an hour out projection, but if you live in Mascoutah or Redbud or in Waterloo, obviously you're seeing darkening clouds and you're seeing this storm system approach from the west. I know the director just told me something in my ear, but I didn't hear it. Chris is flagging me down, so let's get to Chris once again, because I can see behind you there, Chris. I'm getting a good view of it too, and I know you're getting a first-hand view of what's happening there currently.
Yeah, Glenn, what's important to note where we are, again, we're off 55 just south of Festus by a mile or two right now. And behind me, we're starting to get our first view of the underside of the distant cloud. And we've seen periodically what looked like between kind of two puffs of trees out there in the distance, what looks like a wall cloud. It's difficult to say. I don't want to necessarily pinpoint that as exactly what it is, but it's certainly a feature of interest right now. That's the part of the storm that is moving east through Jefferson County. Right now, it's almost to the west, just southwest of Hillsborough and west of DeSoto, moving right through that part of the county. We're looking right at it to the west. Now, Brian, I want to bring our camera around. Did we lose our smoke? Looks like the smoke, we had somebody was doing some burning here, and I wanted to use the smoke. Of course, it looks like they just put it out. There's been a notable increase in this surface layer inflow from the southeast blowing in that direction. That's not a good sign. That could tell us that the storm suction, if you will, that's pulling the air in and up into the storm is starting to intensify. We're starting to draw in more of that moisture and humidity and unstable air from the south and southwest. That's being pulled back towards the center. And in fact, you can even see it up here in the cloud deck as it's getting pulled back to the west over our heads right now. Brian, go ahead and bring the camera back up here over my head. These clouds right now are all surging. This line of clouds right here all points right into the core of the storm here behind me. You can follow it from left to right. These little puffs of towering clouds. This is the area that links up with the underbelly of the storm out to the west, and that's the area we're going to be watching where a possible tornado may develop at any time. Again, that's that area between Hillsborough and DeSoto, especially due west of Festus where we are right now. Glenn?
Okay, Chris, great explainer, first of all, on the construction of that thunderstorm complex, but also great views here. And again, we'll continue to monitor Chris's view of that approaching storm. We are getting some reports of baseball-size hail in Hillsborough. Is that right, Jamie? Is that from
Yes,
Scanner?
yes,
Mhm.
baseball-sized hail in Hillsborough.
Okay, yeah, Jamie here working behind the scenes with us just a little bit here. You'll hear her voice pop on at times here as we continue to monitor the severe weather scenario that's building across the bi-state area. Again, the storm that we continue to really monitor, and it's got our extreme attention, is this storm that is pushing right now southern Jefferson County. As Jamie mentioned, baseball-sized hail in Hillsborough as the storm is continuing to rotate and spin and move in a direction that will push it into the DeSoto area, into the Hillsborough area. Obviously, you're already seeing some of those parts of the storm in Hillsborough right now, but that part of the rotating storm that has some rotation with it and potentially a tornado with it now is starting to push into the southern parts of Jefferson County and in that 21 corridor. So just again, visually to show you you how this is progressing. The rotation is kind of right in through there, pushing toward Hillsborough and DeSoto. With that, there could be some mid and eventually low-level rotation within that. It's starting to show some signs that it is weakening just a little bit, starting to get kind of frayed just a little bit. We'll keep an eye on that. It wasn't quite, not quite as tight as it was just a couple of minutes ago. So again, that's going to be the zone to watch for us here as we go through the next few minutes. Potential tornado and potentially a warned rotating storm that will continue through southern parts of Jefferson County. Getting a report from Troop C, Missouri State Highway Patrol again. Clear rotation, they're saying, just west of DeSoto near 21. No hail or wind from that location, but clear rotation happening within the clouds there. That is coming from Troop C headquarters, Missouri State Highway Patrol. Kelsey Robertson reporting that. Most of the State Highway Patrol members are trained spotters. So again, when we get ground truth from them, obviously good information coming in from first responders and our law enforcement. So that's the current concern at the moment. Severe weather continues to push in. Now let me just sort of reset the zone and reset the scene here. There is a tornado watch that's in place for most of the area through the afternoon. This leading edge of thunderstorm instability, this thunderstorm complex, let's call it, is riding along a warm front that is right in through there. Maybe actually, let me redraw this because as Chris said, he thinks he's probably on the other side of the warm front. So it's probably right in through there. The thunderstorms that have been forming along this warm front are riding along a gradient in the atmosphere where the instability is extremely well defined. As that front continues to lift to the north, and it will continue to do that here, I think, over the next hour or so, that could spread some of that instability a little farther north or even northeast. That could include Metro St. Louis and could include more counties through time. That's kind of projecting out over the next few hours, but that is the zone we're watching. So the mechanics in the atmosphere have that front lifting from south to north, but it's right along that boundary where the unstable air is. In fact, just kind of shifting our radar view just a little bit, the unstable air is really literally right in through there and building south to north. So along that push of warm air, we're also getting a little more lift in the atmosphere. We're getting a little more moisture in the atmosphere, all in this zone right in through here. So it's feeding into that line and feeding into that zone that is producing the severe storms. And so riding right along that warm front is this storm now that continues to push through southern parts of Jefferson County. And as we zoom in just a little bit closer, again, DeSoto, Hillsborough, and really more so now DeSoto in the rotating part of this cell. Let me stop this here real quick and I can kind of give you a little view of what we see. We see what we used to call, well, we still do call it, hook echo. It looks like that. And while there may be hail kind of in this zone, and we did see baseball-size hail in Hillsborough just a little bit ago, it's this zone right in through here that is producing the rotation and the spin. Now, before we, years ago when we didn't have wind profile and, bigger Doppler radars, this is what we would say is producing the tornadoes. And we can look at the Doppler and say, well, there's a hook echo and there's a tornadic spin. But now when we put this velocity mode in to the mix here, we can really see the winds to and from the radar scan, the winds coming into the system, the winds going away from the system. And so we can see some broad rotation happening right in through here. And that is the same echo that we're seeing, that hook currently. So watching that zone very carefully now, southern Jefferson County, Hillsborough, and DeSoto, and pushing east toward Festus, Crystal City, and Peevely. And eventually, if we were to project out with a little more time, eventually that storm would be into Randolph County and into Monroe County in Illinois, probably more probably more Monroe County, probably more the Mays-Town or Waterloo area, maybe a little farther south of that, south of Waterloo, but definitely pushing east through Jefferson County, across the river into the southern parts of Monroe County. So that's the concern currently. I am going to toggle just a little bit through a couple of things that I want to see here. This is where we can see debris in the atmosphere. We generally call it our debris tracker. Sometimes you'll hear us say correlation coefficient, and we look to see things lofted literally into the atmosphere. Don't really see anything that's real well defined there.